Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Toronto Police Headquarters. Today, Detective Sergeant Steve Smith of the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit Cold Case Section will provide an update on the investigation into the homicide of 21-year-old Patrick Santos, who was murdered on September 17, 2006. Following remarks, he will take questions from the media. Detective Sergeant.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today we're announcing a significant update in a homicide investigation that has remained active for nearly 2 decades. On September 17, 2006, 21-year-old Patrick Santos was found deceased in the Ellesmere and Bellamy Road area of Toronto. Patrick had been strangled to death. His murder was Toronto's 49th homicide that year. Although more than 19 years have passed since Patrick was killed, investigators never stopped pursuing leads. Although no suspect was identified at the time of the homicide, investigators collected DNA evidence from the scene. This DNA had no match in the national database. In 2020, Toronto Police partnered with Author Inc. to utilize investigative genetic genealogy in an effort to identify the person responsible for Patrick's death. While that process did not directly identify a suspect, it generated valuable investigative leads that helped move this case forward. Through the dedication and persistence of members of our cold case section and our forensic identification services team, those leads were further developed over several years. In 2025, investigators identified a person of interest. Subsequent DNA analysis confirmed a match to evidence recovered from the homicide scene in 2006. As a result of this work, yesterday afternoon, our officers arrested Pierre O'Conner, 43 years old, of Hamilton. He has been charged with first-degree murder. At this time, we are still trying to determine the events that led to this murder and the relationship between the accused and the victim. We know that the accused has been residing in Hamilton. We also believe more than one person may be involved in this murder. If anyone has information, we are asking them to reach out to police at 416-808-7400. This arrest would not have been possible without the work of our tremendous investigators, both past and present, our cold case section and our forensic identification unit. They have worked tirelessly on this case over the last 19 years. I would also like to thank our partners at the Hamilton Police Service, the Centre of Forensic Science, Mobile Support, and Author Inc. Before I conclude, I want to speak about Patrick. Patrick was a young man. He had a job, a future ahead of him, and plans to move in with his girlfriend. For nearly 2 decades, Patrick's family has lived with the pain of this loss while searching for answers. While nothing will ever bring Patrick back, today we can say that the person we allege to be responsible for taking his life has been identified, arrested, and will now have to answer before the courts for his crimes. As this is still an ongoing investigation with evidence before the courts, I'm not able to provide much further information. However, I will do my best to answer your questions. Thank you.
Maybe just a question about the DNA profiling work. How do you go from, or how does it go from in 2020 to just have a DNA profile to 2025 to narrow it down to a person of interest? What happens in those years where you're locking on?
So there's a lot of science involved there, but basically what we use for core purposes is called an STR, a short tandem repeat. That's how the DNA sequenced it. For IgG, we sequence it in a different way. So we can follow familial leads. Unfortunately, in this case, that did not lead us to the suspect, but it gave us enough information that we were able to then identify a person of interest and follow up, subsequently resulting in the arrest.
Does that happen because that person of interest, their DNA profile pops up on like a database? Or?
No, not at all. It just gives us investigative leads. It's very lengthy to actually explain that process, but it comes back. Comes from our genealogists back to our investigators, and it's just really investigative excellence from our team.
So it just takes that amount of time sometimes for these DNA profiles to narrow it down.
A lot of these take a lot of time, especially with IgG. In this case, it was very difficult. We ran into endogamy, and it really slowed us down. So, endogamy is where families from small geographical areas, over hundreds of years, the families have children with each other, and the children have children. So your DNA profile, everybody looks like a match to each other. You kind of have to unwind that whole string in order to get that, and that can take years. We did the same with George Sutherland. That can take years and years to do. So we were on track on this, but luckily our investigators, going down different avenues, were able to identify this person before we had to do that.
Can you provide information as to why you believe there are others who have been involved in this homicide?
It's just our thought. I mean, Patrick was a grown man. For him to come home and be physically overtaken by one person without being able to call for help, his family was asleep in the house at the time. If he had screamed out, somebody would have heard. So we believe that there was possibly more than one person there in order to take physical control of him and not let him alert anybody else that he was being abducted.
Any possibility of like any possible motive? I know that this is still an active investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that would lead us to why Patrick was killed that night?
Yeah, we're not exactly sure. I mean, we believe that there was a dispute between two different people or two different groups, not gangs, but just groups of friends. But we're not sure exactly why this occurred.
When it comes to looking at IgG and using that to solve cold cases, how many of these cases has Toronto Police solved at this point?
So, well, we solved, there's another one being announced today in North Bay. We're up about 89 for the province of Ontario and over 100 across Canada right now.
And how many are still out with, I guess, it's both from?
So we take the profiles back. They just sequence it. We take it back and do the uploads and control the profiles. We have about 35 to 40 active profiles. We're waiting for the Ontario government to announce the grants for this year. Once that happens, we'll submit probably another 36 to 40 from across Ontario, and those will all be active as well.
In your opinion, then, how much of a difference does having this technology make to your efforts to solve these cases?
Oh, it makes 100% difference. Most of the cases that we've announced, that we've talked about, they never would have been solved without this technology. It's brought us to a place where cases that we had thought were completely unsolvable are now solvable. You were looking for a needle in a haystack. IgG removes the haystack, provides you with that needle, and then you're able to confirm it through DNA.
You have a picture there of the accused from back, I believe in 2003. You mentioned that there was no suspect that was identified. Was he at any point a person of interest in this case?
No, he wasn't. This was just dogged work by our investigators to identify this person of interest.
I suppose, or I would imagine throughout this process, you would have been in close contact with his family.
Yes.
To have this announcement now, can you share anything about what this means to them and how they're feeling right now?
Yeah, I mean, I had been speaking to his mother for years, since probably 2019. We would speak fairly regularly, whether through email or on the phone. She is amazing. She was always very positive about us solving this case. We don't like to give families false hope, but when I called her yesterday and told her that we had solved it, she just couldn't believe it. She was unbelievably, I don't know if you'd use the word excited, but she was very happy that somebody is going to be held to account for the murder of her son.
Was this gentleman known to police?
He didn't have a criminal record.
Any other questions?
I have one. I have to ask it here. This is coming in from the office here. In the news release, it says that strangulation was the cause of death, but previously they thought that death was sort of a tragic accident, and the tape they put over his mouth extended over his nose, and he suffocated. He said that they believed the suspects were trying to scare him. Wondering if this is what you still think happened.
Well, I mean, they abducted him. They zip tied his hands and his feet, and then they taped his entire head with duct tape. So I'm leaning towards the fact that, you know, they probably intended to kill him, and if they didn't, they should understand that taping someone's entire head would probably kill them when they can't breathe.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our news conference for today. Thank you for coming.